Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter. This time, we're going to walk through the process of setting up something called PortableApps to use with your smart home. And if you've not heard of PortableApps before, you're in for a very interesting journey. The short story on this is anytime you go to work with Windows is that you're going to have to install apps. Well, we all know how much of a pain it is. And if you're working on a friend's computer or using a friend's computer or possibly even a work computer, or you're using some family member's computer, you get the idea. It's a pain. You really don't want to install stuff, and they may not want you installing stuff. And with PortableApps, that part is taken out of the equation. Now, to do this, you saw on the title page, and we'll go back to that here. Now, that's one way of doing it, this little device you see from Rocketek. Now, that's one way of doing it. You can also take something like this. Now, this is a USB reader that I got when I bought one of those CanaKit packaged Raspberry Pis. And this is a 64 gig MicroSD card that's in there. Now, you can use one of the bigger ones. If you've already got something, that's fine. I went with this one because some of the USB flash drives are not going to be the fastest in the world. And this at least gives you an option. So let's go ahead and get started. And really, you're going to enjoy what you see. Now, as you can already see, I've got the screen up and running here. I've already got my Windows 10 VM in place. So we're going to, we'll go ahead and plug it in. I'm sorry, my mind's going in several different directions at once. So I'm going to plug in the USB drive, and we'll see it come up here in just a minute. And there we go. Bob's your uncle. So this has already got it installed. Now, something that does happen from time to time, anytime, we'll first go through the installation process. And even though we've already got this running, I'm not going to make you sit through the whole thing. But you'll run that executable, and it'll come up here in just a second, and it's going to say, where do you want it to extract it to? And we can tell it, it should come up with the drive. And at that point, just select extract, and it's going to go through some processes to get everything unpacked and ready to go. Now, once you've got that, then what you'll see is you will have a folder open up, and you will see something called Start. Now, the first time it will do this automatically for you, and it's going to check for any updates. Now, this, I'll tell you here, is already an older file, because even though I've only had it since March, they've already done at least one major update. So we'll go ahead and click on Start, and this is what you'll see going into it. Now, we've already got this installed to a degree, and you can do a whole bunch of things to it. Like, we'll go over here on Options, and one of the things that I've got it doing is on Organization. I've got it to show all categories, and you can tell it to show alphabetically. There's any number of things that you can do. There's several items on here that are worth considering. Now, under the internet, now, my favorite browser and the one I use the most is Chrome. So I keep that on here. I've got Firefox. I've got Opera. And if you've seen one of my other videos, you'll notice where I made the comment one time I had to troubleshoot a problem for one of the magazines I was writing for. And this allows you to go back and forth, especially if you're doing stuff for your smart home and doing it remotely. This gives you an option to work with. Now, security. One of the things you really should do, if you haven't already, is use a password manager. Please, please do that, because with more on the websites going to having security questions, if you get locked out of your account, it also helps you use different passwords. And trust me, you want to be using different passwords. Now, utilities. Now, I've got TeamViewer on here, so that way, if I happen to be out traveling and need to check on something at home, I can fire up TeamViewer and grab control of a machine that I leave running at the house. Now, for development purposes, when I'm working with something for the first time, I love having Notepad++. There are a variety of options out here. So let's go into Apps. And I'm not going to tell it to check for updates because I know it's already done it. So we can just say get more apps, and we can say we'll go by category because that's the way I normally go into it. So this is, it's going to take a little bit of time to populate it, but that's not unreasonable given for what it's doing. And this is an open source package, and they've got a little button on their website to ask for your help in keeping things up and running. So while that's going, we'll flip over here and let you see the PortableApps website. And I may be overtaxing the VM just a little bit here because I thought I'd given it a second processor. Okay, here we go. And we'll just go to PortableApps. It should come up here in just a second. And by going to the site, you'll be able to do almost anything you want to do. Now, it shows on PCs, and if you're interested, for those of you who have a Mac, I'll show you a way that I got it to work on a Mac. Now, not all apps will work. You're having to use something called Wine, which stands for some sort of Windows emulator. Now, that is certainly an option. And let's go ahead and close this out since you've seen it. Okay, there we go. It just took a little while. I don't want to close that, but I do want to close this. There we go. Now that we've got to the main site there. So you can see there's on-screen keyboard. There are database browsers. This can be kind of a Swiss Army knife for you. And there's even a SQLite database viewer. There's games on here. So if you're taking your kids somewhere and you want to have something where they can just plug it in and have the games they want, and you don't want to be lugging a computer with you, or you got a friend or family member that'll let them use theirs, that way they can have all their games on it ready to go. There are a host of applications on here. There's GIMP. But from a smart home standpoint, you've seen the web browsers that I've got on here, and the links you put in here can populate back into your account if you've got the browser synced. So there are, quite a few tools. There's instant messaging pieces in there. There's a BitTorrent client. As you can see here, and the list does change periodically. Now, I will tell you this: there are more apps available than what you will see listed. Sometimes you have to go to the sites themselves. Like if you've ever heard of a network traffic analyzer called Wireshark, that is something you can get. Now you have to go to the Wireshark website because they do update theirs on a fairly frequent basis, and you have to go get that there. There will be a .app file that you'll get, and then there's a process you go through within the PortableApps menu. And let's just switch back over to that, and I'll go down here to my other tab here. So, say we're not going to choose anything at this point. Well, that's fine. Now we'll just click back on the little arrow you see down there, and then what we do is we would go to Apps, and we would install a new app. And I said .app, and I was wrong, but there is a PortableApps file that you will get from a website. And I've got a collection of these, and we may talk about those at some point. And that's how you can add even more to it. But just as importantly on doing this, is you need to back this up. You don't want to have to recreate things. So you can go from the backup option here, and you can say backup files, and we'll click next. And you've got your option to do a complete, which I would recommend doing, or you can do just the app data, or you can do documents. It's a matter of what you want to do, and you've got a variety of options. You can just either back it up the way it is, or you can do 2 different compression options. So it gives you an idea of how you can protect what you have done so far. So this is something that really is going to be handy to have with your smart home. You can at least have your web browser in there. you may not find that if the piece of smart home technology you're using, it may not have a portable apps component to it, but you can at least have that on there. So if you do have to install something, that it is at least get you part of the way there. But it's definitely worth looking at. Something to keep in mind is if you don't use this a lot, and I'm saying a lot if it's like every 2 or 3 weeks, plug it in before you really plan to use it, because PortableApps is probably going to have an update, or at least some of the apps will need an update. And the slower your connection is, the longer it's going to take to get those done. But other than that, it's a great thing to have, whether you would take it, if you're on a business trip, you're on vacation, you can at least have the bare pieces of what you need to get things up and running. Now, to help you in this process, as you're working with these different accounts, please feel free to go to this URL and you will be able to get a PDF that you see right here where it has the different things as you create the different accounts that you're going to want to have. So in this case, it's http://eepurl.com/4F And that's for the benefit of those who are listening on the podcast. So this is something that is going to help you as you get all the different accounts. And trust me, you're going to collect accounts. There's really almost no way that you can manage not to do this. So make sure you grab that, and that way it'll help keep your account information organized. And that way, as you do choose a password manager, and please do choose one, you'll thank yourself later that you'll be able to have things right at hand. Now, what we'll want to do is, you'll see some videos once this has gone up on YouTube, other things to do with your smart home. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask me or things you'd like to see me take care of or review on the channel, please let me know, and I'll be happy to do what I can. Thank you much for your time and watching, and we'll see you again soon.